Welcome back, Pokemon trainers. Professor Chaz here. The lab coat's on back order, and for this week's Pokemon TCG online battle, I've got possibly the craziest, way far out there strategy I've ever put together in the TCG online. Now, I'm going to use Marowak BREAK. I kind of wanted to use Marowak because of when I was showing off the video game matches in my the X double battles. Marowak, when I used him, was one of my first Pokemon that actually got a cool comment about him in the video. Someone said that they were really impressed with how my Marowak does. So I thought, now that I've got the main kind of strategies of the Break evolutions out of the way, that's the next one I want to show, Marowak BREAK. Now, the idea is to power up the, I think it's Bone Revenge attack, which does 40 more damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. Now, as I mentioned in the actual deck building aspect of the video, I'm going to force knockouts on my side to power up that Bone Revenge. So how am I going to do that? Well, let's check out the deck builder and find out what I've assembled for this week's Pokemon TCG Online deck. Let's begin. Now, what you're about to see is quite possibly the craziest strategy I have ever put together here on this channel, and possibly the craziest strategy you'll ever see anybody actually do. So the deck I've called Skull Breaker, and it's going to, as I said, focus on Marowak BREAK. Now the attack for one fighting and one colorless, Bone Revenge, does 20, plus this attack does 40 more damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. What I'm planning to do is knocking out my own Pokemon, forcing my opponent to take prizes and power up Marowak BREAK. And you'll see what I'm going to do with that. I'm going to use the Milotic to take care of that. But first of all, I do have two Marowak BREAK, two basic Marowak, and this Pokemon's not too bad either. With one fighting energy, Sharpshooting can do 30 damage to any of your opponent's Pokemon. Don't apply weakness and resistance for the benched ones, of course. And Bone Windmill does a decent 60 for one fighting, one colorless. If your opponent's active Pokemon is an EX, you then switch your Marowak with one of your benched Pokemon. Now we do have Cubone. I just want to mention, this is some of the saddest card artwork ever. I don't mean it's bad. I mean, just look at this. You have like the mother over here with the little child, and they're quite happy together. Poor Cubone just has a bone to cuddle. But anyways, that is the life of a Cubone. With a Whimsy Tackle for 50 damage, flip a coin. If tails, this attack does nothing. But if you flip that heads, that's actually pretty good for a basic Pokemon for 2 energy. So I've got 2 Marowak BREAK, 2 Marowak, and 3 Cubone. And this is the meat of the power-up of the Bone Revenge. We do have 4 Feebas of various types, and 4 Milotic from the Flashfire set. Now the ability Energy Grace. Once during your turn before your attack, you may knock out this Pokemon. If you do, attach 3 basic energy cards from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon, excluding Pokemon EX. I'm not really interested in the energy aspect of this. What I'm really interested in is the fact that when you force a knockout, that will make your opponent take a prize. And as we know from Bone Revenge, the more prizes your opponent has taken, the more powerful Bone Revenge becomes. So that is the 15 Pokemon in the deck. I'm going to scroll right down to the energy for the time being. We're going to go with 8 basic fighting energy. I did put 2 water energy just on the off chance that we do have to launch an attack with a Milotic or even, dare I say, a Feebas, but we can at least get some damage off if need be. But I've included 4 of the strong energy because we're going to be able to power up the Marowak BREAK with 20 more damage for each strong energy attached. If you have all 4, that's another 80 damage, or, in layman's terms, 2 knocked out Milotic. So that is the energy. We've got 14 in the deck. Let us take a look at the trainer cards. I've included 2 dive balls to help me get the Feebas and Milotic into play. A couple of energy retrievals, because as you will see, I'm going to be doing something to discard energy. That's quite beneficial. And in case the opponent has some special energy, I've got the Enhanced Hammer to discard any of their special energy attached. We have an Evo Soda to get your evolved Pokemon into play quicker. A couple of Professor's Letters for basic energy. And since we're going to be doing a lot of knocking out of our own Pokemon, I don't want to deck out, and I don't want to, be without Pokemon to make use of, so I got Super Rod, 2 of these. Shuffle 3 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. Definitely a good card for recovery purposes. And as always, I do have a number of supporters, so I've got 2 Versus Seekers to bring back whichever supporter I've already used. Now here's where some interesting play happens. We have the Ace Trainer. It says you can play this card only if you have more prize cards left than your opponent. If you do play this card, each player shuffles their hand into the deck. You draw 6 cards, your opponent draws 3. So, let's say we're at the start of the game and I have a Milotic in play. I can force a knockout, give my opponent a prize, and then I can immediately play Ace Trainer.
I'm going to be able to get 6 new cards and whittle my opponent down to just 3 cards in hand. Now I have an AZ, so I can bring back a Pokemon that's got damage, and you discard any attached cards to it. In this case, it's going to be mostly energy, but I have the energy retrievals, as you saw earlier. And I'm using a Bridget to search my deck for 3 basic Pokemon and put them onto the bench. Definitely good to get your Feebas in play and start evolving up into Milotic. I'm going to go with Giovanni's Scheme. Now, I think I've used it before. You can either draw cards until you have 5 in hand, definitely good for draw support, or if you've got 5 or more cards, or if you simply just want to do this, you can have Giovanni cause your Pokemon to do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So basically a muscle band for like 1 turn. Since we have some fighting type in the deck, I'm going to go with Karina from the Furious Fist expansion. Search your deck for a fighting Pokemon and an item card, reveal them, and put them into your hand. So if I've got Cubone in play, I can use Karina to look for Marowak, and also an Evo Soda to look for Marowak Break on the next turn. And of course, I always mention you got to have a Lysandre in the deck. I've got a Pokemon Center Lady, I've got a Pokemon Fan Club, Professor Birch's Observations, and I'm going to go with Skyla. She's going to be very useful to help me with some draw support. So you search your deck for any trainer card, and more often than not, I'm going to be choosing one particular trainer card when I'm using Skyla. And you'll see which one that is in a moment. I've got 2 Tierno to help draw some cards into the hand, Wally for evolution purposes, we do have Zero Sick to discard a tool or special energy attached, and we've got the Scorched Earth. Now, once during each player's turn, that player may discard a fire or fighting energy card from his or her hand. If that player does so, they draw 2 cards. So Skyla is probably going to be used mostly to look for the Scorched Earth, so I can start discarding fighting energy, draw 2 cards, and as I said, energy retrieval can bring them back. On the off chance that we do need to make use of the energy grace as well, Milotic itself, when I use the ability, will let me attach energy from the discard pile also. And the final 2 cards, we do have 2 muscle bands. I'm going to power up the Bone Revenge by 20 more. It's always good to get a little bit more damage. And on the off chance we do find ourselves fighting some EXs, we want to slow them down for how much damage and how many attacks they can get off on us, so I've got the Head Ringer. The attacks of the Pokemon this card is attached to cost 1 colorless energy more, and of course these can only be attached to your opponent's Pokemon EX. So that is the deck of 60 cards, 15 Pokemon, 14 energy, and 31 trainers. Let's get into a battle right now and see how well the Skullbreaker deck fares online. Alright, we're going up against, feel free to pronounce that name for yourselves, and they're going to flip the coin, and they're going to call for other side. I got the fancy water coin that is one of the giveaways in the ladder, not the ladder, but like the daily challenges. And that coin's just a spinning away. Now, of course, why wouldn't they call for the head side? Because that is the fancier side. I found with the actual physical card game, whenever I would flip a coin, I would usually land at tails, and tails did land face up, so we do get choice, and we're going to take the first turn. Thank you, Tails, you came through. Alright, so what do we get off the top 7 cards? We do see a basic Feebas in hand, so it's going to go right to the active spot. And I see my opponent is using the water-type sleeve as well for his cards. Alright, so we're not in the best situation. We do have a dive ball to get another Pokemon out of the deck. And we see a Kyogre-EX on my opponent's side. So let's put a the Head Ringer on that right away. We're going to throw down the dive ball and get another water Pokemon. Do I want to go for another a Feebas or a Milotic? Milotic could take some more hits. Although, no, I'm going to go Feebas. Because if they do manage to knock it out, or if they knock out my active one, I do have an Ace Trainer that I can play. And there's no need to put energy on, neither of them take fighting energy, so I'm going to end the turn and pass to my opponent. So they have the Regice, which has the Resistance Blizzard. Out of the way. Resistance Blizzard. It only affects EX Pokemon, like it'll still do 70 damage, but the side effect is it will not take damage from EX Pokemon. Unfortunately, we do not have any of those. So, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to evolve into Milotic now. Risky as it sounds, I'm going to Energy Grace. Milotic has fallen right away. Now, of course, we don't have any energy in the discard pile, so we're not going to be able to power up our lone Feebas. But the reason I did this is so I can play the Ace Trainer. We're going to shuffle our hands away. I draw 6, they draw only 3. Now things are looking a little bit better. Okay, so we have a Cubone. I'm going to drop that right now. And I don't want to attach the special energy just yet in case they have a way to discard it. I'm going to attach the basic fighting energy if it will attach. And let's draw a couple more basic energy out of the deck to thin it out a little more. We're going to go for a couple of fighting. And that's all we can play for this turn, so my opponent is going to take it, and if they have water energy, they're going to be able to floor this little Feebas. Ooh, a Team Aquasphere. And the Mudkip has evolved into Marsh Stomp. But they didn't have water energy. Very good to know. So, let's get rid of their double colorless right away. Slow things down a little bit more. I can't get the Marowak just yet, but next turn I'm going to be able to use Karina to do that. I think now's a good time to attach the strong energy. And end the turn. It's a little slower pace, but we are getting ourselves set up pretty decently. So even if they did draw water energy, of course they can't use it because they've lost the double colorless. So let's go with a Karina. I'm going to grab a Marowak. And I'm going to go with an Evo Soda, as long as it's not prized. There it is, right first thing. Okay. So I'm going to evolve into Marowak. Now let's go ahead and attach water energy to the Feebas. We're going to start dishing out some damage. Float on for 10. Now if I flip tails, Feebas hurts itself, but Feebas pulled through, no recoil. And we have a Swampert with the Ancient Trait. Okay, now they can start searching their deck for any card they want, and then next turn they're going to be able to draw it off the top. I'm definitely pleased with that. That is the strategy I go with. Of course, I combine it with the Slurpuff that lets you draw a card right away. But certainly no harm in being able to choose any card you want. So, let's play the Scorched Earth and make use of it to discard a Fighting Energy to draw 2 cards. We're going to Evo Soda into Marowak Break. Okay, and right on the bench, Marowak Break hits the field. Now then, I'm going to attach the Strong Energy. We're going to retreat the Feebas. So how much damage can we do? Both Bone Revenge and Bone Windmill are going to do 60 plus 20 more for each of these, so 80, and it's 100 total. Let's go Bone Windmill for starters. Alright, so it's got 10 HP left. And my opponent doesn't seem to be able to draw any energy, but they did just use that Diving Search. There's some energy draw. Now, who are they going to attach it to? They can attach 2 energy per turn to this Swampert. And they only need 3 to power up the Hydro Pump. Yeah, they're going to go with 2 right onto the Swampert. And Hydro Pump with 3 energy is going to be 130, which is just shy of knocking out Marowak. But if they Diving Search right now for a Professor's Letter again, that's going to give them the 2 more water energy they need to knock out Marowak Break. So we're in a bit of a risky spot right now. What would be great is if I could somehow get Lysandre and another Milotic. There's a wall. Well, that is one way I can get Milotic. However, let's see what we can get with the Scorched Earth. Okay, we have Bridget and AZ. I think the best bet, I'm actually going to attach another basic fighting energy to Marowak. I'm going to retreat it. I'm going to pay the retreat cost of, I'm going to bring up Feebas. Okay, click it first, and then choose the energy to discard 2 of the basic fighting. Done. Alright, now let's play the Bridget and get a couple more basics onto the bench. We're going to go another Cubone. Well, there's only 3 left, so I'm going to take all 3. And that's all we can do. We're going to pass the turn. definitely don't want to be in a spot where this Swampert... Now, what they should have done there is actually use the Diving Search first and then play Tierno. That way they're going to be able to choose any card and draw it immediately. So we're losing one of our strong energy from the Enhanced Hammer. I'm alright with that. We can certainly evolve into a Milotic and start attaching some of these basic fighting to get some more power up for our bone attacks. But I want to deal with that Regice. That's just what we needed. We're going to be able to floor that Regice. So I'll go for a water and a fighting. We're going to attach the water to the Feebas. As weird as it sounds, we're about to get a knockout with our little Feebas. And we're going to discard this, grab 2 more cards, a Milotic and a Dive Ball. Now just to thin the deck a little bit more, I am going to go and play the Dive Ball to get a Milotic out of there. Even though I don't want to actually evolve, I want to be able to get a knockout with Feebas and get rid of this Regice. So I'm going to play Wally, also to thin the deck. We're going to get a Marowak out of here. Okay, now we're going to go with a Float On for 10. Float on, Feebas. The legendary Ice Golem has been dropped by a Feebas. How often can you hear that said? Yeah, Swampert comes up now. So, what we need to do is defeat the Swampert. Basic strategy, but it's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to Diving Search and choose a card and put it on top of the deck. So we've got 1 prize taken on my opponent's side. We're going to be doing 60. If we can get them to take 2 more prizes, that's going to do 140, which is enough to knock Swampert out, even without the strong energy. So if they defeat this... Oh, okay, they just kind of lost their Swampert, because check out what's about to happen. They're gaining a prize, which is going to power this up by 40 more. And now, we're going to go with the Energy Grace immediately, knock out this Milotic. They will gain another prize. And we're going to attach a bunch of fighting energy. Actually, no. We're going to attach 1 fighting energy. I want to do 1 fighting energy. Where's the water? Here we go. So 1 fighting, 2 water. That's all we need to power up the Bone Revenge. And for a little added damage, I'm going to play Skyla and look for a Muscle Band. No, actually, I'm going to do the Energy Retrieval. And here's why. I'm going to play that. Bring back a couple of the fighting energy that I didn't attach. Because I'm going to be able to make use of the Scorched Earth. And we might actually draw a Muscle Band from the top, too. Nope, but we got another Marowak Break. Definitely useful. And let's attach a strong energy to this one. And let's do a pretty powerful Bone Revenge against Swampert. 160, down goes the Ancient Trait, Water, Mud, Fish, Pokemon, thing, whichever it's called. My opponent is not in a good spot for sure. It's got 180 HP. We just did 160, was it? Yeah, and they're not going to be able to power up in time to do anything back at us. It doesn't have the Ancient Trait. Now, they're going to be able to heal until I play my other Scorched Earth. So they're still setting themselves up. They are technically winning right now with 3 prizes remaining. Now we're going to play the Tierno. We get the Muscle Band. Nope. But we're going to play the Scorched Earth and get rid of their Stadium. And discard the Fighting Energy. Versus Seeker. Could bring back to supporter, but I already used it this turn, so we're going to power up with another strong energy and go for a Bone Revenge. This should get the knockout if I did the math right. Down it goes. 2 more prizes. Definitely not looking good on my opponent's side. Marowak is just tearing through this team. And if I really want to, I can play Giovanni and do 20 more damage. Now, it'd be interesting if they had a rare candy and they drew the Swampert using that. that dive ball, but they do not. They're going to evolve into Marsh Stomp instead. Tierna will draw 3 more cards. Now I am only at 9 cards remaining in the deck, so I'm going to stop using that Scorched Earth and just go straight up knockout. Or I'll just let the match end right there, because the opponent knew that they couldn't stand up to the skull-breaking power of Marowak Break, thanks to the voluntary discards of my own Milotic. So that was a good game. Thank you to my opponent. Good match. And that right there demonstrates the true skull-breaking power of Marowak Break. Now the trick with this deck is getting knockouts on your side voluntarily, forcing your opponent to take prize cards before their Pokemon are set up to do some damage. Because in a normal game, once they're powered up and you are getting your Pokemon knocked out and your opponent's getting prizes, your opponent's already in a pretty good situation. They've got some powered up Pokemon. By forcing their hand, or rather their prize cards, by knocking out your own Milotic, you're powering up your own Marowak's attack much sooner than they're able to power up and fight back. So that is the key strategy to this. It is risky because you're giving them prizes, therefore giving them more resources to draw upon, but as long as they don't get the right cards and they don't have enough energy in play, then you're not going to have to worry about any retaliation attacks. So that is this week's Pokemon TCG online match, the Marowak Break deck. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought of this strategy. It was really crazy, really far out there, but it can pay off as long as the opponent doesn't get the energy they need to fight back. So it was a pretty fun one. I really like this deck. I might want to sort of keep it as one of my regulars, actually. So again, just leave a comment, let me know what you thought, and if you have any suggestions how to make the deck better for anyone else that might want to try to recreate this, leave that in a comment down below as well. Hopefully you can help them come up with some new strategies for their own deck of cards. So with that, I'm going to end off this video. If you have any other cards from the Breakthrough expansion that you'd like to see used in an online deck, leave me a comment on that down below as well, and I'll see what I can do to assemble a deck using whichever cards you'd like to see. Otherwise, I'm going to continue with checking out the Break evolutions. There's 2 left. There's Chestnut and there's Noivern. If you have a preference, let me know which one you'd like to see. Otherwise, I might actually go with the Noivern because I think there's a pretty simple strategy that can be made use of using the, was it Synchro Woofer, I think its attack is called? And it's a basic move, basic strategy, but it can play out pretty well. So again, I'm going to end off this video. Thank you once again for checking out this Pokemon TCG live online match, and I'll catch you next time.